Hello, hello. How is everyone doing this Friday? I'm kind of in cash mode today because I am powering down today. As many of you may know, today is Good Friday. And because it's Good Friday, it has a lot of meaning for me. And so this is a very special and different broadcast. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I have peace during this crazy pandemic and a little bit of my backstory and how it all ties in to my life and work and how I've married the two. And it's become really my life and my faith has become, my work has become an extension of my life and faith and how all that has come together. Some people think, well, you need to keep it separate. I don't think so, because what you believe, who you are, your integrity, your core values are very much a part of you, and it will spill into your work, whether you're a person of faith or not. So in any event, I just wanted, as always, we kind of go over a little behind the scenes, and I'm pulling up some screens here to share with you. As you know, I am a online content strategist and certified copywriter. And I live in Las Vegas, and we are in the midst of this pandemic where social distancing, things are closed. It looks like we're going to be in this situation probably into May now. And this started in March. So, of course, this has been a very different new normal for most of us. And I just wanted to share a little bit what it looks like right now here in Las Vegas. I went last weekend with my husband. We went into the car and never got out of the car. And we just drove to see, how the City of Lights, Sin City, all the names that Las Vegas is called, what it looked like now that everything is closed. So, and let me just say, there's a lot of family communities here in Las Vegas. There's Summerlin and Henderson and other areas. And it's just as normal as any other area. And people in Las Vegas in that small strip area, I don't know how long it is. It's probably not more than a mile or so. Everything is condensed there, and people come from all over the world for entertainment and to get away, to soak up some sun. So let me just share here, and you can see, I think you can see that. Yeah, you can see that, the streets are kind of desolate. I think this is near Caesars. And as you go in, you can see the Mirage here. Hardly any cars. This is the Fashion Show Mall, which is usually, there's always traffic, always activity, always people walking on the sidewalks. Here's a sign: we're focused on keeping you, our employees, and the community safe. And they've got their doors closed. And there's another sign: we don't have to be together to stand together. Love that sign. And then here we see the New York, I think it's called New York Hotel. Notice I don't go to the Strip very often, even though I live in Las Vegas. And then the Excalibur and some other of the well-known, I think this is the Mirage. This is Mandalay Bay. This is Mandalay Bay, where they had that terrible, horrible shooting. So just wanted to show you a little bit of the impact it's had here in Las Vegas. So obviously a lot of these people that are working in the entertainment industry, they're out of work right now, or they're not working. I don't know if they're getting paid or not. Some hotels are honoring that, some not. There's all kinds of things going on. So, it's having a hit on the economy. And I did a webinar yesterday where I was talking about the online potential of what we have online, because so many people are online right now. That's another story, but my point is there is hope. And I titled this talk today, I titled it New Beginnings Each Day, because things can look really grim at the moment, but there's always, if we look deeply, there's always opportunity. There's always something that we can do, a way that we can serve. This live stream is a result of that, to see how I can connect with people more. And I wanted to give you a little bit of background, because I know everybody's concerned about what's going on. And there seems to be a lack of hope. And as I've shared before, I'm a person of faith. It happened not early on. I didn't grow up in the church like some people are, have families that grow up and their parents are Christians and their grandparents were Christians, and there was a whole heritage of that. I was probably one of the first, and I saw my mom come to faith and my dad come to faith later as a adult. But I struggled when I was younger quite a bit, and I had a lot of brokenness. Long story short, I just felt like I was a mistake, that I was stupid, a mistake. I had no purpose. A lot of things that happened in my childhood, some things that, just shaped me, and I let it shape me until I was in my 20s, my late 20s. And I just got to the point where I wondered, is this all there is to life? Just getting up, working, eating, and sleeping, working, eating, and sleeping. And I started really thinking, is there a God? Is there really a God? Because I wasn't sure at that point, even though I had been put in private school with, back in the day, private schools, Christian schools were with nuns, the nuns, they were, I don't understand nuns, but they were scary at the time. They scared me at the time. And so I became more withdrawn. But they try to instill in you the idea of God, but for some reason it just didn't seem like it fit right for me. He seemed too distant, let's put it that way. And so in my late 20s, I really I did really well at work. I was in a corporate setting, but my personal life was completely a shambles. And there was a lot of different things that played into it. Part of it is drug abuse and other things. And I got to the point where I realized there's got to be something else to life. This is, I'm going to slowly kill myself, just from abusing my body, or, something's going to happen. I need another answer. And I started looking into it, and I started getting some material to read. And one day on my birthday, I decided not to go out, not to go see my friends, not to go party. And I stayed in my little bachelor apartment that I had. And this was in Los Angeles. And I really was asking questions. I was kind of not really crying out to God, but because I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to really pray. But I started reading something, and my eye caught something, and it was something very simple, and I can't remember verbatim what it said, but the concept of God loving me the way I was, as broken and damaged, and with a lot of stuff that needed straightened out in my head, to know that He loved me unconditionally the way I was, and I didn't have to necessarily change. Just blew me away. It just blew me away. But I know that God didn't want me to stay that way. He wanted me to change, but He loved me the way I was, and for who I was, for the person that He created. And that concept, it just profoundly was illuminated in me. The depth of it, the gravity of it. I mean, how much He loved me was just, it just pierced right into my soul. And I can't explain how that happened, because it wasn't just knowledge up here. It was heart knowledge. And so it was a connection. And I remember just bawling, and I muttered something. It wasn't even a prayer. It was, my eyes were closed, and it was so intense that I thought if I opened my eyes, I would see someone. That's how heavy it felt, like the presence of the Lord was there. And I remember just saying, God, if you love me this much, if you'll have me, I'll figure out what it is that I need to do. Just show me where to start, show me what to do. And I don't want to live the way I've lived before. I want to be different. I want to figure out what life is about and living for you and so forth. So that was the extent of what we call the sinner's prayer. I had no idea what words to say. I was just talking to Him. And from that moment on, my life changed completely. And so with today being Good Friday, I always remember the sacrifice that was made, because if you're not familiar with Christianity, Good Friday, we remember that Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins. He took on the punishment so that we can have freedom, we can have relationship with God, and we can now have an eternal home in heaven with Him. And so we are very kingdom focused of thinking of that and the hope that we have. And so today I wanted to talk about the new beginnings because although Good Friday, we remember his dying, the story doesn't end there. Easter Sunday is the day that we celebrate that he rose from the dead. Now, some people may say, how could this be possible? Well, he did, and it was documented, and the scriptures in the Bible have all these accounts of witnesses that saw him. And so he rose from the dead, and that is the hope that we have in the resurrection. And so the whole thing plays out from when people practice Passover, and I don't practice all of those things, but I acknowledge Good Friday simply something that was done for me, something that was offered to me without merit. And so that's why today I'm kind of powering down. I'm going to go for a walk later, spend some time with my granddaughter, reflect a little bit. But the new beginnings part, we all have a new beginning every day. And that's why I titled this New Beginning Each Day, because we see a lot of what's going on right now, and it could instill a lot of fear in people. But we got to know that we can make choices today, even within the walls of our home. We can make positive choices. We can think ahead. We know we have the hope that this too shall pass. Now, I know that sounds, that doesn't sound enough right now for some people that are struggling, but let me share something in this area of encouragement and why I have peace, because I know that no matter what happens to me, I know how the story ends for me, right? I know how the story ends for me, so that there is part of that hope. And I don't do anything alone anymore. I have this relationship with God that helps me. And so that gives me comfort, because anything that I do that is good, I can give credit to God. But please, anything I do that is not good, don't blame God for it. It's just me, and that's the way it is. So many people blame God for so much, but people have choices to make. So here's one of the things that I wanted to share with you today. It's some things that I've noticed just in reflecting, that answers aren't found in managing, but in surrendering. So many times we try to manage and control things, but they're not found in managing. It's really when we surrender and we let go of those things and we begin to look for the change within us, look for the hope that we have in God, that we begin to find those answers that we need. Here's another statement, a quote that I have: peace isn't an external condition, it's an internal connection. I can have peace because whatever happens externally, I still have that relationship with God. Here's another one. We are in the state of in-between right now. Right now, things are not the way they were, and we don't know how they're going to look later, right? So we're going through this transition right now. We're in the in-between. We're in the quarantine. We're in this place that, what is it going to look like after it's over? And it doesn't look like it did before. But you need to know that we are in a state of in-between, but God is in the in-between. Let me fix that. I think I have a little, hang on a second. I think I have a little typo in there or something. God is in the in-between. Okay, sorry. Got a little typo in that thing. There we go. All right, now let me show you that again. Okay, there we go. But God is in the in-between. We are in a state of in-between, but God is in the in-between. He's present when we feel like there's no answers, when we feel vulnerable. He's in that place with us, so we can find peace. So how does this work with business? Well, because of my faith and because your work is an extension of who you are, one of the things that I've observed is this: a grateful heart. So when a person is grateful for the changed life they have, for the transformed life, a grateful heart becomes a generous heart, and a generous heart serves to make a difference. No matter what setting you're in, whether you're in formal ministry or whether you're in business, or even if you're working for a corporation, a grateful heart becomes a generous heart. A generous heart serves to make a difference. And I think that's why the online work that I do resonates with me so much, because online content creators want to see transformation and want to make a difference. The majority of them, at least the ones that I've run across. Yes, of course, they want to make money. It's their business. But at the core, the motivation, the why is to help make a difference. And so it's easy for me to marry the two, my faith and my work, because I'm still the same person, right? I'm still the same person at home, at work, in what I do. So I wanted to just share too that faith isn't passive. Faith is active. We change from the inside out. And again, I'm going to talk about a movie. I love the movie Inside Out, the cartoon, because it just shows all our different emotions, how they play into it. Such a cute, adorable movie. And most of the time, we just need to get out of the way. We need to understand how our emotions play in to how we react to things that are going on. Whether we have a pandemic or not, we need to understand, how do we gain that peace? How do we realign when everything is chaotic? How do we find, order out of something that's out of order? How do we navigate through all of this? Well, right now, there's lots of people that talk about mindset, and mindset has become really, really popular. And it's interesting, as I've heard online business people and other people talk about mindset. I'm thinking, when I realized what they were talking about, I'm going, well, that's biblical. There's so much in business that is biblical. It's crazy. The act of serving people well, that's biblical. The act of making a relationship or opening a conversation and building a relationship online, that's biblical. That all of those things are biblical. And it's like, all of a sudden it becomes this like, wow, look at this concept, but it's in the Bible. It's rooted in the Bible. And so integrity, all of those things that people talk about, it's biblical. There's one scripture, it's in Romans 12:2, that says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind. It's interesting because it says be transformed. So there's the transformation by the renewing of the mind. Renew your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve. You'll have wisdom, right? Test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. So this scripture is all about changing from the inside out to be what people call the best version of yourself, to bring forward all your gifts and talents and skills and use them in a productive way. It says, don't conform. Don't follow just status quo because it's status quo, right? Don't conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed. Let me show you something. I learned this early on in my faith because my actions didn't connect with what I was learning and believing. There was a disconnect because I was reacting to everything, right? And I wanted to understand, how do I renew my mind? How do I live this abundant life? How do I live in a way that has peace? How do I just align myself so I'm not like up and down and sad and this and, emotions flying up and down and everything? And I finally realized from a book that I read years ago, it had to have been, let me think here, over 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. Yeah, because I've been a Christian over 30 years. So I'm going to say around 20 to 25 years ago. And it was all about the renewing of the mind. I'm going to show you a graph because people can get really lost in trying to figure out, what is this? This, what people call mindset. Okay. People call it mindset. People call it renewing of the mind. People call it toxic thinking. You name it. There's all kinds of people talking about it now, but this is what it is in a nutshell. So let me share this screen. I made a diagram. It's really, maybe some people are more comfortable thinking it as mind awareness. This is part of your identity, what you're thinking. And here's what I want to share. Untethered thoughts that just go through your head. that are maybe triggered by emotions, untethered thoughts do not always align with our values, our intellect, or our core beliefs. They don't. They're just triggered by crazy emotions, right? And we can get distracted by things that we see, and they trigger our emotions immediately. And it's not from the core of who we are and our beliefs. So if you look at this diagram, this number one, it starts with a thought, right? If some outside thought comes in and tries to invade your space, right, and trigger an emotion, like the news comes in, right, and doesn't give you a chance to even formulate your own opinion, your thoughts will stir an emotion of panic or fear. And then that will influence your choices, which we saw it when people were hoarding and people were panicking, or we saw some of it in the long lines and things that were happening. It influenced people's choices and what they're going to do. And it leads to the decisions, And so we see this pattern all the time. That outside thought tries to invade our core thoughts, beliefs, our integrity. When I realized this cycle, see, I was trying to change here. I was trying to change my decisions, my actions. But you can't change it here. You have to change it here in your thoughts. And so once I aligned my thoughts to what was true, any outside thought that came in, I would feel the emotion stir, but the emotion, whether it was fear, whether it was panic, whether it was insecurity, whatever emotion I was feeling, it was kind of an alarm for me to stop while it's trying to influence me here, to stop and think, okay, I'm not feeling like positive right now. There's a lot of negative, toxic thoughts going on in here, and I'm feeling the anxiety, I'm feeling the tension. Maybe it was some outside thing that came in to influence me and trigger these emotions. So you go back to your thoughts and you start thinking, but what is true? What is right and what is true? Then your emotions, they change. They begin to calm down. They're not as heightened in that toxic area. They begin to align with your new healthy thought. And then it influences your choice. And then you can choose life, choose a positive direction rather than a negative one. And then it leads to your decision. And you can decide, wait a minute, that's not who I am. I'm a different person now. So that's not true about me, whatever that might be. It's really, that's why I said faith is active and not passive, because we need to practice this all the time. And it's hard. We need to catch ourselves when our emotions are vulnerable and when they're headed in a negative direction. And we have to stop at that moment before it influences us and look back at what we're thinking, and then bring our thoughts back to our core beliefs, what we believe, are the values that we believe, and then be able to correct or reframe our thinking. So now we are influenced in a positive way. We make a positive decision, ends in a positive action. So I wanted to share that with you because being that it's Good Friday and Easter weekend, I want you to consider this. And this is your takeaway for today. Not going to lead you to my website or anything else. I want you to leverage today with yesterday's experience and tomorrow's hope, because there is hope. There's hope for everyone. As broken as I was, as abusive as I was to my body, using drugs and so forth, God loved me the way I was. I was not perfect, and I am still, by any means, I am not perfect. We are imperfect people living God's perfect plan, and we hit the guardrails along the way. That's not God's fault. That's just because we're imperfect people going on this journey. But you can leverage today with yesterday's experience. If it was good, awesome. If it was a little bit broken, wrong, maybe you made poor decisions, today is a new day. Today is a new beginning. So leverage today with yesterday's experience and tomorrow's hope. And I think that'll help you be able to align yourself in a way that's positive and goes in a positive direction. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope that you have some time to reflect, to rest, to see what's important. And I really hope that after this pandemic is over, we are not the same, that we are changed, that we see things a little differently, that we remain in the hope, knowing that right now, at least on the internet, in the online space, there's opportunity for people to engage, support, encourage, and even create a platform that could potentially end up being a business. I'll talk more about that on Monday. But for now, I just want you to know that peace is not found. It isn't an external condition. It's in an internal connection and internal connection with God. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Get some rest, and I'll see you on Monday. Take care.